keep bullying me. You want to run and hide.
Perfect. How's it going, everybody? Good afternoon. Y'all excited? Yeah, there you go. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. It is a pleasure to be on this panel today. I'm Jesus Joestar. I'm going to be your MC for tonight. Before I go ahead and introduce all of these wonderful gentlemen, I'm just going to let you guys know, especially for the folks at home watching, how you guys doing? Hope you guys are having a great time. This is a Q&A panel. We are going to go ahead and ask a couple of questions. Then we'll bring it to you, the audience, and you guys can go ahead and ask questions. And as well, for the ones watching back at home, you want to hold your questions till then because we will look at Twitch chat and you guys will be able to ask questions as well. It is a pleasure to be here. I am joined here and host today, right, for the pre-launch party of River City Girls 0. I'm excited, man. I'm ready to kick some butt, you know? I'm joined here today by my awesome co-host, JD. How you doing?
Good, doing well.
Good to know, good to know. We are joined here by actually some developers. We have Adam Tierney and Brandon Rudis, my bad, excuse me. You guys want to say something? Go ahead.
Hello. One thing I do want to say is Wayforward is actually named after that guy right over there that just arrived.
Yeah, our founder is in the back of the room right now.
Oh, okay. Round of applause, round of applause.
So that's Bolden Way over there. Hello, Bolden. Adam.
So I'm Adam. I'm one of the directors of River City Girls. I directed River City Girls 1 and 0. And aside from that, worked on various Wayforward projects, Aliens, Batman, Silent Hill, stuff like that. And really excited to be talking about River City Girls 0 with you guys and anything else that you want to discuss about the series or Wayforward.
What he said.
All right, you guys. Well, first of all, I just want to let you know, I enjoyed the series. I love it. Me and my girlfriend, I was just talking to Adam about it. Me and my girlfriend actually recently played through River City Girls. It's amazing. I love it, and I'm excited for River City Girls 2, right? But luckily, we also have River City Girls 0 coming out soon. Love it. It's an amazing game. I just wanted to let you know what was just the way I had this awesome experience playing through the game. I want to know what you guys' experience was making the game and going through it and working on it, you know? And what also sets it apart from other beat-em-up styles?
Well, we could talk about 0 first. So, and is this okay, or should I take this off?
You can take it off.
Dude,
Okay. Yeah. So,
I have a question for you real quick. Did you beat the game?
Yes, we did.
So 0 was interesting because when we made the first River City Girls, Bannon and me, it was based on this Super Famicom game from 1994, and it was not available in the U.S. And so we made the game, we took the characters over, kind of gave them the Wayforward spin on them, and throughout the game there's all this dialogue about like breaking the fourth wall, like, oh, this game's not even available in the U.S. And then as we were working on part 2, which Bannon is directing, finishing up right now, there's a lot of elements in part 2, especially from the River City Girls game, that crosses over with that original game that it was inspired by, Kunio Tachi no Banka. So we started talking to Limited Run, and we said, well, why can't we just bring this over? If nobody's ever brought this over, why don't we just go ahead and do it? And so we brought it over, but we brought it over in a very interesting way. We took the game, and then we basically kind of wrapped it in like the River City Girls personality. So we added cutscenes before and after. We added an anime intro by the amazing David Liu that was kind of animated in like a 90s style. New music by Megan McDuffie, new music by Demon Dice, all these kind of cool extras. But we put that around the original game in a way that we were trying to kind of thread the needle so that we have something that would appeal to River City Girls fans, people that played the first game, but also would be a very faithful experience of the original Super Nintendo game, just translated into modern languages. And so for us, you know, it was mostly, I mean, we didn't look too much on the combat on that one, and maybe like a little bit on the curb stomping and stuff from the first one, but a lot of the combat was kind of fairly new, or just from broader Kunio-kun and Double Dragon. But the story and the characters were pulled very directly from that game for the River City one. I mean, if you look at River City 0, the way they animate Masako Kyoko, the way they look, their personality, all of that was very, very influential to the first and second game that we created, top to bottom.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh, cool. All right, so, my next question for you is, obviously as the games progress and we go, you know, different games, we get different mechanics, right? Now with River City Girls, we have the level up mechanic, or sometimes we beat the enemy, we're able to recruit them, right? This is mostly for River City Girls too. Are we gonna see any new different mechanics you guys can talk about?
Yeah, I've actually talked about it before. They've actually let me on weekends. I've been streaming on Twitch through the Wayforward channel, showing off stuff for the game, like actual behind the scenes, how we made the game. And I did go over the fact that in the first game, you can recruit people. I noticed some people didn't do it, or they like passed it up because they just didn't get the mechanic. This time, you can actually have a tag team of 2 recruits. They all do something different. Even if they're doing the same moves, one might land a different way, one might have some elemental damage added to it. But it's been like, the QA guys are always finding like some new way of like spamming and just like figuring out some way. Oh, I'm going to send in the luchador. She's going to do her, elbow drop while this person does this move, and it's really fun.
Okay.
So yeah, the recruiting stuff is a big upgrade, especially with the hired henchmen that have a lot of. If you're familiar with the series, and especially any kind of like Technos game, a lot of those, like, you'll see cameos from other games popping in. So even outside of Technos games, that's all I'll say.
Nice.
All right, cool. Good to know.
So I know that there's 2 new other characters that have been coming out for River City 2. Is it okay to explain like some of their fighting style, or not giving too?
It's very okay. Yeah.
It's very okay.
Okay, all right,
great.
let's know.
Provy, so my background with River City series is I started trying to make just a fan game, just starring me and my friends. That was called River City Ransom Underground. I met a guy online that actually bought the rights to River City Ransom. He was a programmer, so he and I teamed up, did a Kickstarter, blah, 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 so-and-so. We made a game called River City Ransom Underground. In that game, Provy was one of the characters. She's based on a real-life friend of mine, so she's excited she's coming back.
Oh, nice.
But Provy is, originally she was a Muay Thai breakdancer, but now she is just straight-up breakdancer. She has like moves where she pulls out a boombox, and she's a lot of like spinning moves. It's kind of hard to stop her once she gets going, kind of thing. So you can do multiple hits and take out crowds, but once you get her spinning, you can go into different moves. So I can do my flare into a backspin, into a thing called a coin drop, which is kind of like an uppercut thing. So you can keep her going. So she is a returning character. Marion, however, is from Double Dragon. She's been around for, I don't know, 35, 40 years now. So she is always the damsel in distress, getting punched in the stomach at the beginning of like Double Dragon, thrown on somebody's shoulders. But if you do that to somebody for like 40 years, she has like the most rock hard abs. So her actual parry animation is blocking attacks with her abs.
Nice.
So she is a combination of boxing and wrestling, because every wrestling character in every fighting game, they're always slow and clunky and they do grapples. But I'm like, I want somebody that's like that, like Dudley, Balrog, but also Zangief in there. So she's, I would say the closest is probably MMA from doing boxing and wrestling. So she's the only one that has command grabs in there.
And the interesting thing about Marion too is we had her as a shopkeeper in the first game, and so the shopkeepers are really just one image of them in the shop, and then they sell you various items and stuff like that. People went nuts over the way that our main artist Rem had illustrated her for the River City Girls series, and there were articles written, there was so much fan art and stuff like that. We are
like that.
Yeah.
I want that.
We are always paying attention to that stuff, and basically, like, the reaction from the community is why she's a playable in the game. You guys were so vocal and just like so, fixated on our version of Marion. At a certain point, it was just like, well, we can't not make her playable. Like, it becomes an expectation at some point.
Yeah, and it pushes that thing that we always try to do is like River City Ransom. Even from the very beginning, they had these 2 guys that were basically like an homage to the Lee brothers from Double Dragon as a final boss kind of thing. So there's always this kind of, I don't know, like shared universe kind of thing. So Marion and Provy were just the perfect picks for this. I couldn't see anybody else being these 2 new characters.
Perfect. All right. Well, going back onto that, right? As far as character-wise, now typically, right, we have your 2-player game, right? But now I believe in River City Girls 2, we're gonna have 6 playable characters. Is there a chance that maybe we're expanding into that 4-player mode, or anything like that? Are there any plans for that?
You mean 4 players at
Like
once?
4 players, yeah, like
Yeah.
4 players at once, right?
We haven't announced anything to that effect.
Okay.
So I will leave it like that.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So I got another off-topic question. You know, what are your 3 favorite beat 'em up fighting games? I mean beat 'em up, not fighting, beating game. Yeah.
I mean, I really played the hell out of Double Dragon 2 when I was younger. I think that was one of my top NES games. And when we did our Batman game on Nintendo Wii, that's just like a shameless Double Dragon 2 ripoff in terms of the juggling and combat and stuff. And I remember the very first prototype that we did for River City Girls 1, we had is it called the Dragon Knee?
Yep.
Yeah, the dragon knee in there with the like that sound effect. Like, so, you know, like Bannon said, there's always been a crossover in this shared universe between River City, Kunio-kun, Double Dragon, Combat Tribes, all this kind of, you know, Technos goodness. And so that stuff was really fun to play in that universe, especially now with Marion. So that's the first one that springs to mind for me. Double Dragon 2 for sure.
My number 1 is Alien vs. Predator arcade.
maybe
That
for
one
me,
is
yeah.
by far, like, even as a kid, I was like, this is it. Like, it just changed everything. A lot of it, even if you watch when they're doing combos and stuff, they did something different in that game. Capcom made the characters, your playable characters, move forward. So when you are hitting people, Final Fight, guy kind of just stands there, like his feet are planted. He's not moving anywhere. But in this game and Alien vs. Predator, because that's where it was influenced from, you could see they kind of push forward like a boxer trying to push somebody up against the ropes. And that makes it so much easier to go into a crowd. So enemies might be out of range, but it's like if I'm beating the crap out of this guy, I'm going to push this guy into the next guy.
Okay.
So Alien vs. Predator, for the sheer weirdness, I maybe it doesn't hold up now, but Captain Commando, just because I was playing as a baby in a mech. And then, of course, like as a kid, I was drawing River City Ransom comics, so it's River City Ransom for me.
I mean, that's the other thing too. I don't know if people are aware, but we only got maybe a dozen or so of them here in the States, but there have been, I think we were game number 50.
We were 50,
Was
yeah.
River City Girls 1, depending on how you count between ports and stuff. But the Kunio-kun series over the past like 35, 40 years has had so many games. And so those were really influential. I know Bannon's a big fan of the sports ones. I love the very first one. And I think one of the interesting things is more than most NES Famicom games, those sprites in that classic Kunio-kun series just really hold up in a way that few games do, and I think that's why, you know, a lot of the Arc System Works games being developed in Japan still use that similar kind of art style, is because it's still just so charming compared to everything else that was done at the same time.
And what Adam just mentioned, every time we do have lunch with Arc System Works, I do ask about the sports titles. So I just want to make something with those games. So.
Yeah. So going back to River City 2, right? Girls 2. I see there's a combo system, and there's like a little counter there that you added.
Yep.
Is that one of the new mechanics? Or
I mean, the first one does have combos. It just didn't have the combo
the
counter.
counter.
But
Oh,
this
okay.
one is, I was showing off combat in a Twitch stream, and somebody was asking me like, oh, what is a combo string for like Kyoko or whatever? And
Right.
I couldn't give them an answer because every time I play it and every time I see QA, I'm always back in the back with the QA guys because they play this game nonstop. So I always take their, feedback and everything. And there are no real combo strings because it's so kind of fluid and creative that you can just like do whatever comes to mind.
Right.
So there isn't really a standard, oh, you do this, like this is the 6-hit or 7-hit combo. I noticed like I did a 40-hit combo against 3 enemies because it was just, oh, I did this, I bounced off this, so I did this, and then I went into this. So all the characters from the first one, because Pruvy and Marion were so awesome,
Yeah.
I was like, I need to do something about the original characters. So everybody got like a glow up. So everybody has like different moves they can do. There was one move for Misako. She does a rolling kind of punch if you do a running heavy, and it was kind of spammable. It was kind of
That's my favorite attack.
Yeah, it's kind of OP.
anything that you can spam is okay.
Yeah, and I was like, screw it, whatever. So she can still do it, but she can go into like her special uppercut through it. So I was like, I'll just even make it more OP. I don't care. So it's still balanced, but it is, everybody got a glow up in that. So very combo
I have
heavy.
a question for you, Ben. And in terms
Yes,
of the
Al.
combat on River City 2, were you influenced at all by seeing how people were playing and trying to play River City 1?
I mean, I did see combo videos, and some of them actually used kind of like a glitch that I never even saw. It was some weird like animation glitch that people. So I just wanted, I don't know, I just always wanted to have that game, just in general, just be very, very combo heavy, but still have it to where if you have somebody that's awful at video games, just tell them, press this button, quick attack, heavy button, just, you can get through the game that way. Like,
Nice.
I don't want it to be just, you have to be a veteran to play this game, or you have to be a skilled fighting game mechanics, like, you know, aficionado. It's just to where, and I think I mentioned this, Adam, so many times. I call it Big Brother, Little Brother. Big Brother can do, if he's playing Ryu in Street Fighter V, he knows how to cancel out of a move. He knows how to juggle somebody, but also do these like weird, like time, like specific things. And then somebody else could just jump in with a fierce, hit him with a fireball, and they're having a great time. They don't know the difference or what they're missing, but they're still having fun. So that's always been. That's why everything is just up special, down special,
Just keep
forward heavy. Everything's simple.
Yeah, with the beginning game, we looked at games like Dragon Ball Fighter Z and Smash Brothers, where you have really amazing moves you can pull off, but kind of the antithesis of like a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat. You know, not complicated inputs, no quarter circles or anything like that.
And it's just easier in a Z-axis kind of like 3D environment. It just makes it easier. Just press like 2 buttons at most.
And who doesn't like hitting buttons, right?
Yeah.
Especially in beat 'em ups.
You know, and going off of that, that's one thing I feel that River City in general does, or especially like, you know, the newer ones, River City Girls and whatnot, is going back where you say like, you know, characters punching, the characters just stand still, right? What I like about these games is, one, obviously the animation. The animation is beautiful. But the fact that you sit there, even though you're pressing one button, these characters are just like moving, and it's just so fluid. It just all comes together. So you're like, I'm doing a lot, you know? So that gets the, you know, the big brother, little brother thing going even more, because it's just like, yeah, bro, you're doing a lot, you know? It's amazing. So it's really good.
I will say, going back to the first one now, I'm trying to pull off all the cool things that I'm able to do in part 2, and it's very much like, it's very much updated now.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And I think also we should definitely give a shout out to the first game and the second game. Our lead animator, KU, a lot of the personality in the way that the characters attack and the way they hits and their facial expressions and stuff. We just have like an amazing animator in KU that really helped bring a lot of what Bannon and I wanted to do in these games to life.
He's good?
All right, so before I go ahead and pass it on to the audience, I want to ask you guys, right? Just the way us, the players, you know, we play these games and we see the characters and we're like, I really like this character and I really like this character. What are your characters that you guys would say is really, like, it's grown onto you, that you're like, this is my favorite character. I like this character, you know? I can relate to this character.
I don't have a main. They're all
You
my
know?
children.
Okay.
That's fair.
I will say Masako is, I always call her the Ryu of the game, because the game was running off of just like really crappy, just 1-frame pixels that I did of her. Just like her run was just like this. So she was kind of our baseline character from the start. But other than that, I play as all of them.
Okay.
But I am that way in Street Fighter. I don't get the whole, I have 32 players, characters to pick from, and I'm like, I'm just going to play as that one. I'm a Zangief main, but I'm like, I like them all.
He has a diversity. That's what it is.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. Yeah.
He can counterpick you too. If he
Okay,
wanted to.
yeah, you gotta watch out for that. It's like, oh, he
Yeah.
plays grapplers. Oh, he whips out zoner. Okay, I feel
Yep,
it.
exactly. So
Okay.
it just all depends. Just
Okay.
I think I'll answer more from the story perspective, because I write the dialogue for the games. It's been really fun finding out and just getting deeper and deeper on the personalities of Masako and Kyoko, and really as a duo. You know, we kind of had something in mind with them at the beginning with part 1, but then once we cast Kira and Kaylee as their voices, they really started kind of like, you know, bringing like another depth to these characters, and it's been fun over the course of all 3 games to just keep learning more about them, how they behave, how they react. And one of the things that's really interesting is when we record the VO for those characters, most of the characters in the game, in all of the River City Girls games, we record individually. We record Kira and Kaylee as Masako and Kyoko together in a room together, because it's really important to have that dialogue kind of bounce off each other in terms of the timing and the banter. And so, you know, we've done so much recording with those characters, and it's been fun to really kind of, you know, get deeper on them and get more of an understanding game by game of what their personalities are like. For example, like, you know, Masako is always kind of the tough character, and people think of Kyoko as like the goofier character, but when push comes to shove, Kyoko actually ends up getting more aggressive than Misako. Misako has to kind of calm her down. So little stuff like that has been really fascinating as we go along with the characters, and definitely, again, with the voice actors kind of bringing their own little twists and personality to them.
Yeah, I even use that kind of her anger management of Kyoko in the next game.
Nice.
Gotcha. All right, so before I give it up to the audience, do you have anything else you want to ask these gentlemen?
I think we're good right
We're
now.
good?
We want to.
All righty then. All right, cool. So, you guys, the audience here today, just please raise your hand when you have a question, and we'll start ahead. So who wants to go first? Right here, gentlemen.
I like that you two are very knowledgeable with fighting games. I think it's a very important thing to have when you're designing a beat 'em up because, like, the core crux of it is fighting, brawling. Even though it's not exactly like, last man standing sort of thing, I think it's cool. In regards to that, what is the likelihood that you guys working with Arxis, and I know that you guys have like good rapport going on. What is the likelihood that we're seeing a River City Girls fighting game?
That is completely up to them. I mean, I would love to do it. Oh, they can't hear, right? Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay, sure. Do you want to get the microphone for them?
Yeah, the question was, what is the likelihood that Wayforward would work with Arc System Works on a River City Girls fighting game?
And yeah, that is very much up to Arc System Works. I mean, I have fantasized many times about those characters looking in that, that cell shaded kind of 3D and going beyond what. Yeah, in that engine. Yeah, I would love it. Like personally, I would love it, and I would be all for it. But no talks have actually gone into that yet. Okay, he's got one more question.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Which do you two prefer, Final Fight or Streets of Rage?
Streets of Rage. What do I prefer, Final Fight or Streets of Rage? Streets of Rage by far, especially with Part 4. So, yeah, 4 allows you to just be incredibly creative with incredibly simple controls, but still having that kind of like old school kind of mechanics in there. Yeah, big fan.
I like Final Fight, but just because I grew up on those characters more.
Were you Guy, Cody, or Hagar main?
Hagar, of course.
Hagar.
Okay. Yeah, I had to ask.
You don't even have to ask. He's
Okay.
just so fun to play as.
My dad always picked Hagar, so I always went Cody. I was like, I don't know, Pops, I got you. I always play Cody.
I always played Hagar and Guy, and then when it came out on Super Nintendo, they didn't put Guy in there.
Yeah.
I had to play as the guy with the T-shirt. It's like cool.
Boy, Cody.
I know, right?
All right, cool. Next question. Yes.
As a fan of the art design, is there at any point are we going to get a River City Girls manga or art book?
So yeah, we've already announced
We have to repeat.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a question? The question was, are we ever going to see River City Girls manga or art book? So we've announced already we are working on an art book right now. It's been so hard to put together because there is so much art that exists from the 3 games in HD, and it's just incredible how much what's there is there. And so it's I don't think we've announced details on who we're working with or when it's coming out. I think it's going to be revealed pretty soon. We've seen some previews and stuff. It's all series encompassing, so it is one huge book that has most of the HD art from River City Girls 0, 1, and 2, and there's a really cool sort of presentation kind of theme to it that I think you guys are going to dig. But yeah, we're working on that right now, and that should be revealed very soon. And as far as manga, I don't know. We talked about it at various times. There's a lot of pages within the 3 games, all of them illustrated by Rem, who's our primary character designer and lead artist. So we kind of know what River City Girls would be as a manga. We've had some conversations. I think the main thing is just we're so busy working on the games, nothing has really taken off. But I would love to see that at some point if there's maybe kind of a gap between actual consistent production on the games. I would love to see something where it's like a River City Girls 2.5 or something like that that is in comic book format.
In the game as well, there is the cell phone itself looks and kind of acts more like a cell phone, and there's 2 different social media things in there now called Snapper, which is basically Instagram, and then there is Honker, which is kind of Twitter. in Snapper, you are going to be able to find behind the scenes like art and sketches and stuff like that, and you'll have to play the game to figure out how to unlock those things. But yeah, you'll see more art in the game too.
One really interesting detail is whenever Rem does those comic book scenes that you guys see in the games as the cutscenes, those are done on paper with ink, so they're all actual art. It's not digital. And
We got them framed on
yeah,
our
we
walls.
got all the originals, and so we're lucky enough to, if you ever visit Wayforward, you can see some of the originals, but they're absolutely gorgeous. But that with how talented she is in terms of the art, the fact that she can deliver that quality committing pen to paper, I think is even more impressive than a lot of just people that might do it entirely digitally.
I have the ending of River City Girls 2 on my wall, so I always have to make sure the camera can't see it or whatever. So.
All right. Next question, please. Go ahead.
So outside of like the realm of like fighting games, is there any piece of media, and it doesn't even have to be restricted to video games, is there any other pieces of media or media that you consume that has helped you with the creation of Little City Girls, like as inspiration for this?
Outside of what'd you say?
Outside of fighting games.
Outside of fighting games, is there anything that inspired us in the creation of River City Girls? Metal Gear Solid, actually. Yeah. So Metal Gear Solid, like just down to design of everything looks chunky and clunky and whatever. It doesn't look. I don't know. I always think of it as like a very real kind of like real world kind of military looking stuff, but. As far as what Metal Gear inspired this is, you'll notice that in each of the bosses, Masuzu is the first boss. There's always some other way to kind of take out the boss. So if she comes at you charging, have her hit the pillars, and she goes down. So there's always some different way to take out a boss in Metal Gear. Yamada, he creates a bunch of floating objects, but one of them is a health item. You can push him off the side. So there's always some other way to try to hurt a boss or get some type of healing or whatever. So that's like my little bit of Metal Gear that sneaks in there.
In terms of the brand and the story, definitely Scott Pilgrim, specifically the comic and the movie, were influential. A lot of people think that we were, really looking at Scott Pilgrim, the game. We are friends with the people that made it, but we kind of weren't. I think it's just by the nature of both Scott Pilgrim, the game, and River City are kind of pulling from Kunio, so there's a lot of
I mean,
similarities.
he literally fights Yamada in the comic book. So,
But in terms of the story, yeah, definitely Scott Pilgrim, the movie and the comic, stuff like Kill la Kill, just like over the top anime stuff. We wanted to go very high personality with the characters, just really crazy, hilarious VO, awesome, actors and stuff like that. So just kind of looking for very high personality stuff in that regard. Those are some of the influences.
All right, perfect. All right, so we got time for one more question. Perfect. Yeah, we're gonna finish up with we'll pass after. Yeah, one more question from the live audience here.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Video games are important to have a diverse range of enemies. What particular enemies would you like to highlight?
I would say, I'll go over the ones that are in part 2. Part 2, they do have a lot more ways to attack you. Like this is the first time that one of them can actually grapple you, and that grapple, like it's the luchadores. They come at you charging. It's very Zangief influence. Like her arms go flying up, and that character is actually. I design all the enemies, and then I was like, Rem, our main artist, what do you want to draw? I have a spot for one more, and she said luchadores, and I love wrestling, so I was just like, thank you. So I left that one to her. So when you see the luchadors, that is all Rem designing that and wanting to put in a wrestling character. So I love those characters. So, but yeah, they do grapples on you, which is in game design, grapples in like a beat 'em up game, they are the worst thing to try to code or get in the game itself. Making a entity stick to another entity, and what if both of you go flying into a pit together? It's a nightmare, but I always try to push as many wrestling moves as possible. And then we have the LARPers.
Yeah.
The LARPers are great. The LARPers are, there was a enemy type in Underground that were kind of, I forget what I called them. They're just kind of like goth kids. And it's kind of like an update of these guys, but the LARPers are creating magic, but they're not really magical. They have things like aerosol flame and stuff like that. So a lot of elemental attacks from those guys.
One of my favorite things is looking for characters from the series, from the older games, and bringing them into our game and doing an update. Over the course of 50 plus games, they have literally hundreds of characters, and so it's always fun to have Rem kind of reinterpret them. And one of them that we have in River City 2, I don't know if we've announced this yet, that I'm very proud of, is in the very first Kunio-kun game ever. You kind of go world by world and you're fighting these different little pockets of characters. And one of the first ones is Masuzu, who is the first game's boss. And then you're fighting her, and you're fighting her street gang basically is made up of Kumiko, who is a girl with a chain that we have running the sauna in the first game. And now with the second game, we're adding, it's KO, right?
Yeah.
So the third girl from that group in the very first game, KO, with like the orange hair and the mask and the sunglasses, she's one of the enemies that's coming out in River City Girls 2. So stuff like that, like being able to do deep dives on these characters and reinterpret them and bring in a mix of, like Bannon said, brand new characters we're coming up with, but also ones that have like one sort of like foot in the history of the series. That's been really, really amazing on the games.
Yeah, just know there's pretty much like 90% it's always a reference to something from the series. So like deep lore, and even Arc System Works, they're super fans. They answered some of the stuff that we have no idea what they're even talking about.
Yeah, and we actually we held ourselves back on the first game, specifically planning for part 2. So for example, you mentioned the Dragon Twins earlier, Ryuji and Ryuichi. We specifically did not put them in River City Girls 1 because we wanted to hold them back for 2, plus a couple of other characters, just so that we had some really big heavy hitters that we weren't kind of, blowing through all of the major characters in the first game.
Yeah, like Waver was a request from Arc System Works. Waver is the like teddy bear dice enemy in the first game. Had no idea who she was. It was some Famicom game in like 1987 or something like that. So, yeah.
All right, then. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and actually pass it to the folks back at home. I'm going to read your questions here in the Twitch chat in a quick second, and after that, we will conclude. So, the first question I got is, Rem draws for the webcomic Devil's Candy. Any Easter eggs in River City Girls 2 for that?
I don't. Are there?
No.
No?
No, I mean,
What a letdown of a first question.
First question.
But that's where we know Rem from is if any of you are not aware, look up the web comic, and it's also published physically by Viz, called Devil's Candy. Incredible book. That's how we first heard of her, and if you guys love her River City Girls style, you'll love that as well.
Yeah, if you want a comic that looks like this, it's that.
Okay, perfect. And then it's not pulling up.
Yeah, is there any more?
Any more questions? All right,
Okay,
cool, perfect.
can you go ahead and it's not pulling up on chat. Just
You can let me know, and I'll
Yeah.
repeat it.
This is from Pokemon Ricky 25. He has two questions.
Okay.
First question is, will there be some side quests for some of the other characters, like Yamaha being with Mommy Mate?
Gotcha. So the question was, will there be more side quests for the other characters in the upcoming game?
For the other characters, as in...
As in,
Like Yamaha being with Mommy
Yeah.
Mate.
There are a lot of new side quests and missions and things that I call journey quests. Journey quests are somebody will put you on a quest of find this thing, and that thing, there's maybe like 30 or 40. We put a lot of secret hiding spots all throughout this game. Some of them are so absurd that I want to see if anybody can actually find them. But there's a lot of nooks and crannies in the game now. A lot of verticality, so there are quests that will last you the entirety of the game itself.
Okay.
But those unlock some, like, what I even consider like cheat code kind of accessories.
Yeah, there's a lot more non-linear content in part 2, and I think also almost everybody from the first game comes back in some form or another.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have almost as many characters appearing. So the number of like characters from Kunio-kun lore, from original characters and stuff, it's a massive roster and just a huge experience, huge world compared to the first game.
Yeah, I mean, one of the missions is a 4-tier kind of thing. You have to do 4 different steps to get through this actual mission. So,
Yeah,
and they're
and-
not just like one, like, go grab this thing. They're like little mini games and things like that. So,
And a lot of those involve meeting up with those characters. So yeah, some of the fan favorites from the Kunio-kun series, characters that people really dug in the first game, they are coming back for a lot of those secondary missions.
Good to know. And then what was the second question?
What's the second part to it?
Technically, another question just popped in. Pokemon Ruby 25. I think his second question is a little similar to the previous question. He's basically asking, is it possible for a River City Girls anime? Which I think
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Is it possible for River City Girls anime? I mean, we sort of
Anything's possible.
yeah, we dip a toe in that with the intros, and so we had the intro on the first game was done by Studio Yada. The intro on the second game was done by David Liu and Empty Cell, and then we've got an anime intro on the third one. So I would love it. We've had conversations about the possibility. Nothing really in motion yet because essentially we're a game studio. We wouldn't be able to do that entirely on our own, but we get a lot of requests for that. We get a lot of requests of like, hey, can there be a Netflix River City Girls series? I mean, if we can make something like that happen, we would definitely do whatever we can. We would, get all the actors back together, same storytelling, same art style. I think it'd be incredible. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I want toys and cereal. Yeah. An anime. Yeah, sure, I'll take that too.
Cool, cool. All right, so next question is from East X Twitch saying, Wayforward, what are your thoughts on the pros and cons of River City Saga 3 Kingdoms?
Pros and cons is a lot of dialogue. But other than that, it is. I grew up on River City Ransom, so it is basically an updated version of River City Ransom, just with more like juggles and just all the mechanics of like, oh, I wish I could have punched that dude when he was falling, but I can't because it's 1989.
Gotcha,
but now
gotcha.
it is to I could punch this dude and hit this guy and throw this guy into that other dude. So yeah, it's fun. It's very lengthy.
Yeah, for people who don't know, that's one of the games developed by Arc System Works. So kind of the way that our games, the River City Girls games, are seen in Japan is they're called like a Gaiden series, like a side story. And Arc is still making, their own River City Girls games. What's really cool, though, is in the Three Kingdoms game, they have our version of Masako Kyoko as playable characters in addition to their traditional versions. And so we were super excited when we got to see them. They also appeared in a couple other Arc games and a couple other Japanese games over the years. And I mean, that stuff is just so flattering to see, the region where these games come from, embracing what we're coming up with and then folding it back into their own continuity. So that's something, if you play Three Kingdoms, that's something to keep an eye out for. I don't know how they're unlocked, but you can unlock the River City Girls versions of the two leads.
Yeah, I always see it as they're like the 616 universe, and we're kind of like the ultimate universe. It's still the same Peter Parker that you know and love, but it's slightly different.
Slightly different.
So it does allow us to go in different directions with these characters.
Gotcha, okay. Next question is from RQS 101. Will Loiter be returning from the last game in RCG2? If so, would there be more content in it since the world's just so massive?
I would be surprised if you found everything before you beat the game. So loitering is back, but yeah, that stuff will carry over. It's like you still have about 30 of these things to find. Go find them. So yes.
And why don't you talk a little bit, because that was one of the major revisions of the second game is that sort of respawn system. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about how you've expanded on that?
Yeah, so in the first game, when you get, we never say die or get killed. It's you got KO'd. So when you get KO'd in the first one, you can stomp your buddy, try to bring him back. But then if the other person goes down, then it's game over. You lose some money and you come back to that same exact scene. We do now give you the option of, do you want to do that or do you want to go back to your hideout? So I call them worlds. Like worlds to me is Crosstown is a world, Uptown, Downtown, other places I won't name yet because it's in the sequel. All those places have a hideout now where you can go to your storage crate and get the items that you want out there, grab new recruits. You don't have to try to grab the same recruit. They all hang out in your hideout. So we just call them a meat locker or human closet right now. They all just, you can see them physically hanging out. You approach them and you have a list of, I want to pick these guys to come with me now. So it's much easier. Once you grab them, they're in your Pokedex pretty much, and you can just grab them from there. But yeah, you can have the option, lose some money, you respawn there, or you can get all your health back, no money lost, go back to your hideout. So
I think that's one of the most interesting things about the sequel too is we have now these contextual areas. So that was something we didn't really have time to do in the first game, but like Bannon said, we have hideouts now, which are areas where you're not fighting enemies, where you can kind of, get your supplies and respawn. We have areas where you can train and beef up on your moves. There's a lot of these nice little kind of unique spots in the second game that we didn't have in the first one.
Chill areas too,
Yeah,
what I call them.
exactly.
Like once you go in there, you could hear that kind of like lounge music, the zzz, 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 and it just means no enemies are going to be in here. So especially online, if you are playing, you can't pause a game because you might hook up with somebody that just pauses a game, then you're kind of screwed. So there's no pausing. You can see them physically on their phone, so you can tell when somebody's in their phone looking at stuff. But chill areas are, let's take a breather, let's go over here. There's no enemies in there. It's just another spot for you to kind of hang out and kind of goof around if you want to. So in the trailers, you might have seen them jumping on a bed before, and that's a chill area. That's Kyoko's room.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so we got one more,
All
right?
right.
And I was actually going to tap into this a little bit to end off, but, we already got it asked. It's from East X Twitch. River City Girls 2 was recently delayed. What are we looking for the next release window?
River City Girls 2 is coming out later this year on all platforms. River City Girls 0, which is the one that we're talking about now, is already out on Switch. That is going to be coming out on September 13th on Xbox, PlayStation, and a little bit later on PC. So River City Girls 2 later this year.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for the delay, everybody, but online is a pain, and we want to make sure this thing actually runs for you. So,
All right,
yeah.
perfect. Better late than never.
Yeah.
And at least, we're going to get an awesome game regardless.
Yeah, I mean, the game is awesome as is, but it is to where it's like, we want to make sure that when this thing releases online, you can play it online.
Okay.
And you're not going to be like,
Yeah, just
zipping
jump
around everywhere. So,
It looks like you got some goodies on the desk right there.
oh, we do have goodies.
Yeah. So,
What are these goodies, Adam?
So what we brought is a mini poster, and this was the art that Rem did for Valentine's Day last year of Masako and Kunio and everybody else going crazy behind them. This is sort of a mini poster of River City Girls 0, 1, and 2, and we have 100 of them here. So if the first 100 people that show up at this table get a free signed mini poster.
Well, 99.
99.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is
sure.
right.
Yeah, and we do have limited copies of the game for sale here at Game Realms on Switch, PS4, and PS5. Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
Not Switch,
Not
PS4
Switch,
and
not
PS5.
Switch.
No Switch.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Alrighty then. Well, it has been a pleasure, gentlemen. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the work you guys have done. Like I said, me and my girlfriend love the game. We can't wait. Anything else you want to say, JD, to conclude?
When can we get a free copy of River City Girls 2?
When it comes out.
Okay.
Oh, let's go.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to the folks back at home, too, for all your awesome questions. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jesus Joestar signing out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.